evening, it's 8 o'clock. I'm Sally Mbete, live from Johannesburg. Your top stories this evening. Malusi Gigaba and Baleka Mbete withdraw their names from the ANC's parliamentary list, and the party is not telling us why.
They must pack their bags and go back to China.
An underground sit-in at a mine in Orkney in the northwest. 4 days underground, demanding better pay, but also the cancellation of the mining license for the Chinese-owned mine. And in Durban, 2 Metro officers guarding an eThekwini councillor are gunned down while guarding his home. We start here. Former National Assembly Speaker Baleka Mbete and controversial former Minister Malusi Gigaba have withdrawn their names from the list of members of Parliament. You will no longer see Mbete calling for order or Gigaba making interesting hand gestures in the House. Well, the announcement comes a day before MPs are sworn in tomorrow. Let's hear what the ANC spokesperson Pule Mabe had to say about this a short while ago.
When members withdraw themselves, when members of the African National Congress withdraw themselves from the list, they do not necessarily have to canvass big reasons, or it would have been because of a deployment. You know, a notice of withdrawal on its own is sufficient. If there are any other roles later on that these committees, who are also members of the National Executive Committee, will be playing, such will be conveyed out in the public. As matters stand, they have withdrawn from the list, and the necessary steps to make sure that those replacements do happen have already been undertaken.
From our Pretoria studio, I'm joined now by political analyst Professor Dirk Coetzee. Good evening to you, Professor. Thank you so much for joining us on eNews. What do you make of this, particularly coming one day before they're sworn in? They had a lot of time to withdraw from this list. Do you think, particularly around Gigaba, perhaps pressure was put on him?
My guess is that both of them have received information that they are not going to be included in President Ramaphosa's cabinet. For both of them, it has also implications for their pensions. If they withdraw now, then they will receive a pension, Malusi Gigaba already, because he's a former minister, and Baleka Mbete as the speaker, at a higher level than that of a member of parliament. I think, therefore, that they have realized that while they tested the water and tried to see to what extent they will ultimately have a chance to become part of the executive, I think the message is clear to them, and therefore they withdrew.
Interestingly, that Baleka Mbete, 20 years in Parliament, very, very senior parliamentarian. She's clearly not getting the Speaker job again because that's gone to Thandi Modise. Do you think she was hoping, in particular, for a cabinet position? And why do you think she didn't get it?
Well, either a cabinet position or even that of deputy president. You know, there is a lot of speculation about the future of David Mabuza as deputy president, as national deputy president. There's also a lot of discussion about then if he's not going to fill that position of a woman. Now, she obviously is a former deputy president. She was during the time of Kgalema Motlanthe, is deputy president. In 2009, after the election, there was also a similar situation when she was not reappointed as deputy president, and then she refused to be sworn in as a member of parliament, and she had to go back to Lutuli House. So I think it's almost a repetition of 2009 that we are seeing at the moment. I think also the fact that she was not such a successful speaker ultimately, the way she dealt with the EFF during the time of President Zuma still in Parliament, raised a lot of questions about her. And I think that is the main reason why Thandi Modise, who is a more stern, a more forthcoming chairperson of plenary sessions, that she received a nod in order to continue as Speaker.
Thank you so much for those insights. That's Professor Dirk Coetzee in our Pretoria studio. So it's all about the bottom line. Resign now with your former cabinet or high-profile parliamentary position pension rather than an MP's salary. Let's move on now. An underground sit-in for better wages and other demands is now in its fourth day. 69 mine workers are involved in the protest action at the China Africa Precious Metals mine in Orkney. They're risking their lives to protest for better salaries. They also want the mining license revoked of the Chinese-owned company. The National Union of Mine Workers is asking for President Cyril Ramaphosa and the Mineral Resources Minister now to intervene to get that mine license revoked and given to other investors. The mine says negotiations will only continue when the workers come up from underground. Well, our reporter Aviwa Mtila was at the mine earlier today.
69 mine workers that have been underground here at China Africa Precious Metals for the last 4 days say they are willing to die underground until their demands are met. Their demands include an 8% increment as well as a living out allowance. That living out allowance of 2,000 Rand, they say, will help them in terms of having rent outside the mine and as well as commuting in between the mine. We understand that the offer that came from the mine was 300 Rand, and that has fallen flat as well with the negotiations that have fallen flat as a whole. The CAPM is saying that they will not go into any negotiations until those workers have come up, and the miners are saying that they'd rather die underground until their demands are met. We understand that the unions are calling for the license of CAPM to be revoked and given to another investor, but let's hear what the president of NUM had to say.
When people got mandate from Shanghai and China, they are sitting here, they can't even decide. Well, we are saying that the Department of DMR should actually withdraw the license, Section 11, from these people. They must pack their bags and go back to China.
We had numerous attempts to try and get word from CAPM, but all of those have fallen flat on their face. We understand that the workers that are on the surface now are in solidarity with the workers that are underground, and they're saying that the mining bosses here will not leave these premises until their demands are met. They've also blocked the entrances to this shaft so that the managers aren't able to come out here.
A hell-bent, knee-jerk status quo decision. That's how one lawyer for French arms company THIS has described the decision by the National Prosecuting Authority to reinstate corruption charges against the firm. THIS and former President Jacob Zuma are both asking the KwaZulu-Natal High Court for a permanent stay of prosecution. Our reporter Sipamandla Goge reports from Pietermaritzburg.
French arms company THIS is insisting it won't get a fair trial. THIS's argument centers around the delays in the case. The company is accused of agreeing to pay Jacob Zuma an annual 500,000 Rand bribe for protection from an investigation into the controversial multi-billion Rand arms deal. Zuma's former financial advisor Shabir Sheikh is said to have facilitated the alleged bribe.
Not clear to THIS why the respondents raised the issue of non-trial related prejudice, because that is not THIS's case. But why I intend to take the court to what they say is that I intend to submit that it perhaps gives us an insight into how the respondents view the nature of the fair trial right when it comes to a corporate accused.
On Thursday, the National Prosecuting Authority is expected to continue responding to Zuma and THIS's application for a permanent stay of prosecution. The NPA is expected to argue that there are reasonable prospects of a successful conviction in the case. Sipamandla Goge, KwaZulu-Natal High Court in Pietermaritzburg.
A Durban ward councillor is lucky to be alive tonight. However, the two Metro police officers standing guard outside his home died when gunmen opened fire yesterday evening. Moses Zulu was under police guard because he'd received death threats. Now the eThekwini municipality is calling for any information that will help catch the killers in what looks like a targeted hit. Desin Thathia spoke to Zulu about the attack.
Yes, I was at home. I was just arrived from the ward committee meeting 45 minutes after that. I have a gunshot outside next to my gate where the static police, Metro Police personnel used to stand to guarding my house normally.
Councillor, just describe to me, if you can just show me exactly where this took place and how the guards were situated.
You know, where we are standing, that Metro Police was standing there. And the van was just facing that side. That's where the van was standing around here.
And when you came out, what did the scene look like?
When I came out, the scene was like something has happened, because before I came out from my house, I heard a gunshot. So it was scaring. It was at night. It was around 20 to quarter to 10, and the scene was scaring. Then I decided to go out there. 1 minute from this yard, behind my car, I just saw 3 guys running that side. Suddenly they just shot at me, 2 bullets.
Still ahead on eNews, election observers are pleased with voting in Malawi. This despite reports of some irregularities. Details in a few moments.
And in your business news, the rand has lost some ground today as the US-China Trade War hogs the spotlight and impacts emerging markets.
Get all your business news now with Rufiwe Madzena. Good evening to you, Rufiwe. You know, the Chinese-US trade war, we hear about it, we read about it, and then it hits home quite hard, particularly for owners of Huawei devices in South Africa, quite concerned. Some of those fears are slightly allayed, but still it's a big worry.
Yeah, a very big worry indeed, Sally, and you do say some of those worries laid to rest for now, as the US has come out after that mammoth announcement that it will be giving Huawei 90 days, Huawei and Google 90 days to figure out a plan forward. So Huawei representatives did host a press conference today saying that they will use this 90 days to potentially find rivals to Google. This is where
Google is American.
Exactly.
Can't
so
use
they're
that
going
operating system.
Exactly. So they're going to have to start looking for rivals. What they have said, though, is that last year they started working on their own operating system, which hasn't really worked out too well. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how they can take the template that they currently use in China and modify it to the rest of the world. The only reason Huawei says people love their phones so much is because they've got access to the likes of YouTube, Gmail, Google Maps, and so without that, sales for the mobile device, which by the way is the second biggest mobile device seller globally, will plummet significantly. But let's just get some context from tech expert Toby Shapshak about that impact that we were speaking about earlier.
Huawei and its suppliers have got 3 months to work out what they're going to do. And of course, Google, which makes the Android operating system that runs on 95% of all phones in the world, smartphones in the world, that is what they're going to be working on. I don't think anyone needs to panic right now about whether their smartphone will carry on working. Should they carry on buying Huawei's? I don't see why not. I mean, it's not a great position for any company to be in, so Huawei is probably very anxious about whether or not they're going to be able to sell their latest models and what they're going to do with it and whether those are going to be supported.
Tech expert there, Toby Shapshak, really just painting a picture about the future mobile devices that are going to be sold. Exactly. But for now, if you own one, you are safe for now.
How are the markets today?
So not a great day for the markets. The JSE closed lower today, and this despite global sentiment improving a little after the US temporarily lifted that ban on Huawei. So we saw that banks and general retailers fared the worst today, and this despite that firmer rand. Gold was weaker on the back of the stronger dollar. Meanwhile, oil gave up some previous gains under pressure from concerns about that drawn-out trade war. If we take a look at the local unit, the rand was slightly weaker this afternoon, faring better than emerging market counterparts. Sally.
Thank you very much, Rufiwe Madzena. News from beyond our borders now, and the EU Observer Mission says it's satisfied with Malawi's elections. The country voted for a new president, members of parliament and local government councillors. Despite some delays and misplaced ballot papers, voting appears to progress smoothly, with long queues reported. President Peter Mutharika has been in power since 2014. He's running for a second term. He's facing a strong challenge from his vice president, Silas Chilima, and the country's opposition leader, Lazarus Chakwera. Mutharika is credited with lowering inflation, but he's failed to reduce dependence on foreign aid. Time now to look at your weather. Joel Guy in Cape Town, good evening to you. What have you got for us?
Good evening, Sally. Well, we have the cold front that hit our shores on Monday. It has been affecting KwaZulu-Natal throughout the day, driving rain-bearing clouds into the province. And throughout the night, those clouds are going to be spreading into eastern Mpumalanga and Limpopo, giving us light rain and drizzle in these areas highlighted here. The clouds will also spill into parts of Gauteng. On the other hand, it will be mostly fine for the rest of the country, but a chilly morning can be expected for much of the Free State, southern, northern Cape, around the Little Karoo and the northern sections of the Eastern Cape. Then in the afternoon, it will be mostly sunny for much of eastern South Africa, cloud-free for the Cape provinces with warmer daytime temperatures, although we will see quite a bit of cloud creeping into the northeastern areas of the northern Cape. Then in the evening, it will be fine across much of South Africa. Now, let's take a closer look at what you can expect for your part of the country. We start with the northwestern parts of the country, where we are going to be seeing mostly fine conditions for your Monday and for your Wednesday rather, and this is how it is going to look for the northwest. It's going to be partly cloudy for the northeastern areas, mostly fine for the southwestern sections, with top temperatures in the upper teens and lower 20s. Then in the Western Cape, we are expecting mostly sunny skies for the interior, with top temperatures in the lower 20s, cooler for the southwest coastline, Cape Town and Hermanus, with partly cloudy skies and highs in the upper teens. Then in the Eastern Cape, we are expecting sunny skies in most areas, and it will be mild to warm for much of the province. Partly cloudy skies are forecast in KwaZulu-Natal. A bit of rain for the first part of the day around Richards Bay and Ulundi. Temperatures here lying mostly in the mid-20s, and we are expecting partly cloudy skies for eastern Mpumalanga. We are also expecting partly cloudy conditions for parts of Limpopo. Sunny, however, as we go towards the northwest, and also for much of the Free State, where a chilly start to the day is expected. Then in Gauteng, we should see mostly fine conditions with warm temperatures.
Thank you very much. That's Joel Guy in Cape Town. And finally, it was meant to be just another graduation ceremony where students celebrate finishing their degrees. But this ceremony at Morehouse College in Atlanta, Georgia, turned out to be extra special. Billionaire investor Robert Smith was at the college to receive an honorary doctorate. He'd already announced a donation of more than 21 million rand to the university, but in his address, he pledged to pay off the student loan debt of the entire class of 2019. Nearly 400 children or students will benefit at a cost of over 570 million rand. Let's recap your top story this evening. The ANC is not saying why Malusi, Gigaba and Baleka and Mbete have withdrawn their names from the parliamentary list, but one analyst says it could be because they did not make the cut into President Cyril Ramaphosa's cabinet. From me and the team, it's a very good night.